Hello, hello, everyone. We did it. You woman-fested enough, and Kendra is here on the show live with us. Welcome. So you're a YouTuber. It's kind Kendra creates, but the third creates is what they see. So it's not the not the 3Ks, just so in case anyone's got to say something. So welcome. Thank you for being here. Are you nervous, excited, terrified?
I'm a little bit nervous, and it's so weird because I do a lot of like public type speaking in front of people in my real life, and I'm never nervous, but I'm nervous, and I'm literally the only person in this room.
It's a different beast when you're on live stream. I was nervous the first time too, but I think only me being in the house helps so much because it's like, well, if I really screw up, I can just go, power down, and I can just never sign on again. Not that I will do that, but I could. So thank you everyone for being here. My voice is coming back. Actually, speaking of Rach Talk Live, I think I picked up some sort of virus or bacteria from being away from home, being on the airplane. I'm not sure. I wear my mask everywhere, but sometimes it's not enough. I don't have gloves. So I'll be coughing ever so often. So I apologize in advance for any raspiness that I don't normally have. Everyone says hello, hello. I'm turning Kendra up a little bit. Kendra, are you near your microphone, or do you have your laptop that you're using as your microphone?
I'm using the laptop's microphone.
Okay. We'll try to boost you up. If they're saying if you can get a little closer, if possible, that might help. But if you can't, we'll do our best. I'll try to lower myself. So, okay. I know everyone's like, are you straining your voice? Yeah, I was screaming so much women empowerment messages while in Cincinnati. That's why I have no voice left. I'm just kidding. Okay. So I reviewed my recorded messages from Rach Talk Live. So it's fresh on my mind. I saw your video where you kind of went through my video and responded to certain things. So I really appreciate that. Is there anything that's come up since you've been home and like have had time to process that you like have thought about with Rach Talk Live?
I think it was pretty much expressed in my part two, but me like having feedback from everybody on my initial video and then also doing a little exploration in certain subreddits.
Mm-hmm.
I got like, I guess you could say, more backstory or more information, of course, that I didn't know before. And
Yeah.
so it contributed a lot to my part two version, especially with the drinking. That was just my, yeah. I'm pretty pissed about that, but yeah.
Yeah, that was an interesting part. And because Cincinnati was the last stop on her tour, on tour, there's no articles in Hollisville. They did shots on stage, and I played that clip on my live stream. And so then I went back because some people are coming in fresh. They're coming in new too to watching this content, and they might know a little bit about Rachel, but not like every single detail. So I wanted to know, maybe we could watch the clip of her going on Oprah's stage, because and if you've watched all the streams, you're probably sick of watching this clip. But she talks about the infamous tampon story. Do you know that one?
I do not. I believe you briefly talked about it
Okay.
on one of your live streams, the one where she said she didn't get sick or something. I think you kind of talked about it.
Yes.
And I was like, why? That's such a mortifying story. Why would you tell that publicly? Don't.
Again and again. Yeah, she's told it many times because she told it at the Rise conference, the one that I went to last year virtually. She told it. She chose it to tell on Oprah's stage. But in that clip, there's the tampon story, and she also calls herself an alcoholic. So that's kind of two important things that I think come up again and again in talking about this thing. Like, if you're calling yourself an alcoholic on one stage and then the other stage taking shots in celebration, I just find that to be confusing and bad.
That's wild. That's wild.
Yeah. And it's like, you know, and I said this, and my vlog of the whole event is coming out soon. I was gonna have it already out, but I was like laying in bed yesterday and did nothing, so it's coming out soon. But that was one of my first thoughts was like, if you're a big follower of her, like if you really like her. Now I don't like her, obviously. I'm coming from a negative viewpoint, but I listen to everything she puts out, so I'm trying to understand her better and try to correctly report things. You would not like her if you're a big fan. She only really caters to people who do not have a background in what she's talked about before. And it's interesting. I guess she's used, it's almost like we were talking about off camera, MLMs. They're not meant to be long-term solutions. They're like churn and burn companies, or like, you know, churn and like get people in, get them for that 2 episodes, and then get new people in.
And pretty much the people that like make all the money or have made all the money, they get in on the ground floor when it first began. This is what I've kind of learned or whatever. But yeah. It's just not sustainable. It's not.
No, definitely not. And in this case, like if you got in the ground floor of Rachel Hollis, you're like, who am I listening to these days? Because she's changed so much in like 4 years. So I figured we'll watch that clip. I also, I have a couple recordings in addition to the ones that I already played on the other stream that I wanted to get your opinion on. One was, she talked about Martin Luther King Jr.'s speech. Did she talk about that with you guys?
She did.
Okay. What do you remember about that part specifically?
I remember her talking about Mahalia Jackson, the singer, basically urged him on, saying that he needed to talk about the dream, and that's how he gave the speech, like basically at her urging. And I think it was, yes. And I'm trying to remember, I don't want to say the wrong thing, but I think it was basically how people behind the scenes have a
role or something.
Yeah, they have a very critical, they have a very important job or something. And it was also when she gave the example about the songwriter.
Yes, the Elton John guy, the Turpin.
Yeah.
Yes, so okay.
She was using those 2 stories to say that people behind the scenes are important too, or something like that.
Yeah, okay. So I have both of those clips. So I think that'll be good for both of us to listen to. And then there's one other one that I pulled out. Men versus women, why it's different for women needing different types of motivation than men. And when she went to her first personal development conference, it was only men. So I'll play that because I think all of the messaging, going back now and having time to think and simmer, like none of the things that she said really connected together. And that tends to happen quite a lot in her content, where she'll say something and she'll say behind the scenes is all good. Like that's a great position to be. Like dream about being a behind the scenes person. Okay. And then the next breath she'll go, if you have a dream, make it bigger, make it better, make it sparklier. It's like, wait, huh? I'm confused about what the point is. And that came up for me a lot. So that's the kind of events, the what do you call it? The schedule in my mind. Also, it's pouring rain here. I don't know if you can hear the rain in the background, but I might have to like close my door at some point because it's picking up pretty fast. And I want to also say thank you to Amelia Nunez for sending a drooly face to us. And for that, here's one of my favorite new sound bites. And Kendra, you might be familiar with this one. Did you hear that? Did anyone hear? Okay, let me try this one. Hold on. Stand by. We'll fix that. Okay. Once again. Start over.
This girl a mess, y'all.
There you go.
I love it.
I'm glad you like it. I was nervous. I'm like, maybe she'll be offended that I'm like cutting her sound bites, but they're so good and they're so appropriate for like what we're talking about. So
I was totally not offended at all.
Okay, good. Yeah, here's another one that actually goes in with what I just said.
I felt like she said one thing and then said the complete opposite.
That's Rachel Hollis in a nutshell. So before we get into like the meaty Rach Talk Live comparing notes thing, let's hear about your experience. And you sort of talked about it in your video, but how did you first come across Rachel Hollis and the world that is like where she's involved in a little bit, like self-help and that sort of thing? How did you kind of find yourself here?
Very base level, like many years ago, not many, but a couple of years ago, I worked in an extremely toxic workplace. Like, you could Google this place and you could read newspaper articles about the toxicity of it.
I want to.
So one of my coworkers, she was ranting and raving about this book to me and another coworker. And the other coworker is like, yeah, I heard about her, but I'm not with all of that. And I was like, okay, but you know me, I was trying to have an open mind because I usually have open mind about things. And so she said it was girl wash your face. And like I said, you know, in my part 2 video, I was like, oh, what is this about? Because Black women use the term a lot, you know. And I was like, oh, this must be about, you know, a Black woman. I gotta check it out, see what it's about. And you know me, I'm cheap. So I go online to my public library, the book. I see this some white lady on the front cover of it. So it was kind of like, I don't know about this. I never read it. Fast forward to earlier this year when I kind of like my life settled down a little bit because in the span of like 1 year, I moved, I got married, I had a baby. So I got back on the internet basically. And YouTube is amazing because it just recommends stuff to you that you may have never even thought of to watch. And so I started watching long form content, documentary style type videos. And one of those was about Rachel Hollis. And that's how I really learned about her. But it was very kind of like, you know, the start and the downfall, and now I guess she's, you know, trying to rebuild or something. I don't know, but yeah.
Yeah, we're in the part of the story, the arc where she's like rising back up to the top. I don't know if she'll ever get back. I don't think she'll ever get back to where she not started, but where she was at the peak. Mm-hmm. But she's making money somehow. She seems to be, you know, persevering, and that's one thing I will never take away from her, is that she does not give up, even when I would have given up, you know, a lot sooner than she keeps going. She'll take a tiny break here and there, but she'll be back. You know, she plagiarizes major, you know, writers' quotes. She's back. She embarrasses herself with, you know, on TikTok. She's back. Is that the best quality in the world? I don't know, but it is a quality. So gotta give.
I feel like no matter who you are, you have your ride or dies. They will stand by you no matter what. For instance, look at Mr. R. Kelly. He still has a fan base. Like, people legit like write him letters and are fangirling over him. And it's like, remember what he did? Do y'all remember what he did? Or y'all forgot all about that? So
they're like, he wouldn't do that to me, though. That's why I'm going to send him this letter and be different. I don't know. Yeah. I mean, people were sending Jeffrey Dahmer letters while he was in prison. I just watched the thing on Netflix, and people were sending him fan mail. It's like,
it's so crazy. Yeah. I watched that episode last night.
It's so good.
The guy in the prison, he was like, "What you did to those people," or something, like he hit him or something. My fans don't think so.
My fans, yeah. It's true. I mean, that is a very good point. Like, no matter what, even like Charles Manson had people show up to the courthouse and they were supporting him. So just because you have a group of supporters doesn't necessarily mean what you're saying is, you know, wonderful. That's a good thing to remember. Okay, let's play some clips. But first, I want to say thank you to Rachel Owen, who says, happy to have both of you inside of the same stream. Okay, that, if you don't know, inside of is something that Rachel says, her ex-husband Dave Hollis says, and Dave Hollis's new girlfriend Heidi Powell, who actually maybe you should look into because she's got sort of a toxic fitness empire, I say that very loosely, growing. And it's a lot of like, you know, if you're going to eat a donut, eat one piece of the donut and chew it 100 times. And therefore, now you can enjoy the donut. A lot of stuff like that. And if you want to be full, eat a bag of broccoli and drink water so that your stomach gets so, you know, distended that you can't eat anymore.
That sounds like eating stuff. Like,
yeah.
Literally, that's what it is.
Yeah, and she's someone who claims that she's recovered and has healed basically herself from an ED. So there's a lot of layers in that story, but that's part of the Hollisville
Yeah, I heard it was his competition weekend or something.
Yeah, Dave Hollis is going to be inside of a fitness competition. So I mean,
big props to him. I could never do that because I like my carbs, but you know.
Yeah. You know, the whole thing is like, I don't care. Like, do whatever you want. You know, obviously he's like got his money set somehow. His investments are good. He can chill, you know, and do whatever he wants now. But he framed it as, this is going to prove that I have integrity. I'm an integral person, because he's doing a fitness event. I'm like, I don't find that to be fair for me. Like, I don't. He's like, well, I stuck to my workouts. Like, who gives a shit? Sorry. Who cares? You know? Sorry. I'm keeping my cursing to a minimum today because we don't want to offend Kendra, okay, on this channel. But, you know.
No, it does not offend me. It offends other people that may be watching.
Whenever I have a guest on the show, I try to, like, you know, keep it within reason. So we appreciate it.
I'll say be yourself, be whoever.
Thank you. I actually talked to my therapist the other day about cursing. I'm like, you know, do you think I curse too much? She's like, I have never heard you curse once. I'm like, okay. Maybe then, I'm like, I forgot. She doesn't watch my YouTube channel. So I'm like, okay. I guess I have different personas depending on where I'm going. But yeah, the Dave thing, like, I don't care what he does, but to say, oh, well, if you want integrity in your life, join a fitness competition. It's like, no, that's not what I think.
World of craziness.
Yeah, and there's I think it's a Washington Post article just came out about like sexual abuse allegations from a lot of the women that do the fitness competitions, and the, you know, meeting with judges and all those things. And I've heard not a peep from either one of them. So it's interesting that there's kind of like expose on the whole industry, and of course they're both sort of.
It's like people see those type of people and they have excellent body, muscular physique, you know, they must eat very healthily, but a lot of them are doing these things by very unhealthy means.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I'm saying about that. But.
Yeah, I mean, and especially when they're on stage, like, they're dehydrated on purpose, so to show the muscles, and like, even if they have a sip of water, like, it just goes back to normal. So what you're seeing is totally unrealistic. It's not even realistic for them, who have trained for months and months to do that. And Heidi was also supposed to do one around the same time, but I'm assuming she dropped out because she hasn't talked about it in a while, in like over a month. So I think it's just Dave. She must not have integrity. According to the Dave Hollis School of Life. I also want to say thank you to Alyssa Warner, who said, I have waited for this all week. Well, thanks, Alyssa. Woohoo.
Me too. I was waiting.
Me 3. I'm glad my voice is back enough to talk. And this one is for Alyssa. This one's for you.
They're going to be dropping some really powerful, amazing, life-changing shiz.
That's Heidi. Rebecca Romana also says, so happy to have you here, Kendra. I know we have a lot of inside jokes and Hollisception. I hope it's not too confusing. I love your perspective. So we'll try to always, like, the inside of thing is just something they all say. There's really no more to it than that. But if any other things come up that are like, what? I'll try to explain it, because there is a lot of inside jokes for sure inside of this community. And for that one, I will say,
what the heck?
Actually, no, Rebecca's a frequent watcher of this channel, so she gets her own soundbite, actually. Which is on this page.
You are gonna marry Dave Hollis.
That's what Rebecca always says. Thank you. Okay. All right. So we are going to it's only audio, so there's nothing I'm going to pull up to watch, but we're going to listen to the MLK explanation. And I listened to this before again, so this will be your refresher, Kendra. I listened to it twice today. The thing that I found to be the most confusing is like, what does it mean when the whole thing is about becoming a dreamer and having a goal to put your mindset to and to dream bigger? I think that was kind of the message at both of our events, at least some part. It was like dream smaller, but also dream bigger. Okay. And then I don't know how this story fits in at all. That was my takeaway. And maybe I'm being too harsh, so feel free to disagree. But here we go. It's 2 minutes and 19 seconds long. So let's go.
What's the most famous conversation? What's the most famous moment in the history of this country about a dream? Dr. King standing on the steps in Washington, D.C., giving this iconic speech in the history of our country. Iconic. And we all know it. We have all heard that speech, or we read about it, like we all know this thing. But here's what's crazy. Have you ever Googled that speech in its entirety? No. Because why would you? Because you're like, I know the moment. I have a dream. I have a dream that one day my 4 children, we all know this moment, but here's the thing. The I have a dream speech is this long. And in fact, he doesn't talk about having a dream until the end of the speech. He's standing, 200,000 people in front of him, this iconic moment, one of the greatest speakers of his time, possibly of any time, and he's standing up there, and he's wise, and he's sharing wisdom, and everyone's like, yes, but I'm presupposing that maybe he wasn't connecting with the audience in the way that he needed to. He wasn't connecting with the audience in a way that was actually going to create change. So there's this really incredible thing that happens in the middle of Dr. King giving that speech. He gets interrupted. See, I'm guessing that most of you don't know that as he's giving that speech, over to the side is another civil rights leader, an incredible gospel singer, a woman by the name of Mahalia Jackson. And in the middle of Dr. King giving a speech to 200,000 people, she interrupts his speech. Tell him about the dream, Martin. Tell him about the dream. Because she had heard him talk about this vision that he had for our country. She had heard him tell the story of what he hoped for his children. And I don't know what she saw in him or in the audience in that moment, but she changed the course of history because she saw in someone what they didn't see in themselves.
Okay, so that's the clip. So I think I in school at least had heard the speech in its entirety, but okay, we'll take her for her word. No one but her has ever read the whole speech. He's the only one that knew this existed. The Mahalia Jackson part is true. I didn't know that, to be fair. I had never heard that, so I looked it up. Seems legit to me. I don't know, and from what I read, I don't know if it was that he did not have confidence in himself while he was delivering the speech and that she had given him confidence. I didn't quite take that from reading the history of it. And then secondly, are we in the audience supposed to be Mahalia Jackson, or are we supposed to be Martin Luther King Jr.? I'm confused.
I don't know either. Like, I feel like she takes these very big stories, or any story for that matter, and she makes it to be whatever point that she wants to get across, whatever that point is.
Yeah, I was like, because at first I was like, okay, all right, there was a woman. I thought it was at first when I was in person that the point was that there was a woman beside the man, and being like her being there was very important, and I sort of get that point. But then I'm like, wait, but are we supposed to be encouraging other people's dreams, or are we being encouraged? I don't know. It doesn't connect for me, and I was sort of like, she presented her information with like passion and conviction, but I think she falls flat with like, what's the point?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. How do you feel about her using that specific speech in a group, which you said in your video, like, that was not very diverse in the audience? Is that offensive in any way, or is it like not a big deal?
I don't necessarily think it's offensive. I just think it was a very important moment in American history.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, everyone has heard of that speech. Everyone knows who he is. Everyone thinks that he did something very important for our nation, right? And so, armed with all of that, it's like, I am going to use this story because it's going to be so amazing. Everyone is going to think so highly of me because I did this. And, this is going to resonate with everyone because this is so important. Like, people need to hear this because I have this lesson that parallels with what Dr. King did.
Mm-hmm.
But neither one of us know what she's talking about, so it didn't resonate with everybody.
I'm here for
lesson. I wasn't offended by it.
Yeah. Okay.
She didn't say it like in an offensive way, but once you think about like why she said it, you could be offended by it because it wasn't like to pay homage to what he did. It was really about whatever she was doing and whatever point she was trying to get across.
Yeah. I guess the offensive part comes in when you hear the other side, or like the drama that happened with Rachel and you played the clip of her not wanting to be relatable. I don't know did you see the caption? I forget if you had that in your video, what she captioned on that TikTok, how she compared herself to Harriet Tubman.
I don't think the caption was there.
Okay. That's one of the best parts of that video. So not only was the video like, insanity, but in the caption, she says, all my favorite women in history, and she lists off a few. It's like Oprah, Amelia Earhart, Malala Yousafzai, Wu Zhiqiang, and Harriet Tubman. And she's like, all of them are unrelatable as well. So happy Women's Empowerment Month or something like that, Women's History Month. So the conclusion was drawn that Rachel's unrelatable, Harriet Tubman and these other women are unrelatable, so they must all be on the same group.
Right. You're putting yourself in the same circle as like someone who like
freed
their life on the line, for freedoms.
Yeah. And in Cincinnati, I believe I didn't go to it, so shame on me. But they have an Underground Railroad museum there. And, obviously Harriet Tubman being a big part of that, she didn't talk about, obviously I don't think she's going to talk about Harriet Tubman ever again, but hopefully. But, and Frida Kahlo was the other one, I forgot. It was interesting that she went with that, but she did it in Joilet too. So I don't know. I guess that was just her part of her shtick to include that about MLK Jr.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. Okay. Let's listen to the Elton John one because it comes right after the MLK Jr. one. And I also didn't understand this either. This also sort of plays into dream smaller to me. That was what I took away from it. Or not dream smaller necessarily, but dream more behind the scenes. Let the stars shine like Rachel, and you guys in the audience become successful without being famous like me. That's what I took away. So this one is 2 minutes and 30 seconds. So let's go.
See, this country will tell you that to be a dreamer, you've got to stand on the steps of Washington or have 60 million Instagram followers or do big, massive things. But some of the greatest dreamers who have ever existed were people who saw something in someone else that they did not see in themselves. We celebrate the billionaires and ignore the women who spend 35 years teaching second grade. We ignore the nurses, we ignore the doctors, we ignore the people who are seeing something in you that is greater than you see in yourself. But the dreamers wouldn't exist without those people acting as a catalyst for them. So maybe the way you live out your purpose and the way you live out your life is that you help other people to flourish. The other kind of dreams that nobody sees are the introverts. Right? Because they don't want to get on stage. They don't want to wear fancy pants. I always in class would be like, "Where are the introverts?" And it's like this. One of the most iconic writing duos in the history of music includes a man who I'm guessing you've never heard of. A man named Bernie Taupin. Bernie Taupin wrote words, but he didn't write melodies. And then he partnered up with someone named Elton John. And Elton John wrote melodies but didn't write lyrics. And together, the two of them have written some of the most legendary music that you and I have ever heard. But you probably don't know Bernie's name. Because Bernie isn't flashy and he doesn't wear costumes. But without Bernie, Elton does not exist. And without Bernie, you don't hear songs like this. If y'all don't play that at my funeral, I'm coming back to haunt you. Are you kidding? Not only have you not heard of him, not only does he not get on stage and sing those songs, he's so rich. And he's the best kind of rich because he can go to Starbucks and nobody knows who he is. Quit buying into the hype that a dream has to look a very specific way. A dream just has to look your way.
Okay. And sorry, I'm definitely laggy now because my computer is dying even though I have it plugged in. I don't know what the heck's going on. So that's my fault, not yours, Kendra. I don't know what the point of that one was. What do you think? What's your take?
Yeah, I felt like it was a little bit. I'm sorry. Can you hear me and see me?
Yeah, it's me. I'm so sorry. I need to find my other charger. I'll go in a second.
I feel like it was kind of a little bit of a backhanded compliment. Because it was like, oh, you're a teacher, you're doing, great things in the world. But it's not as great as other people that do other things, that are out front in front of everybody. Because I believe she referred to like introverts or something.
Yeah.
Introverts can take on the main stage and they can do their own thing. And I don't know why people have these misconceptions about introverts because I am an introvert. Like doing this is sucking all the energy out of me. But I completely love it. I completely enjoy it. I completely love being around people. I like talking to people. I just don't like to do it that often.
Yeah.
It definitely doesn't give me a lot of energy. I'll put it that way. But I felt like it was kind of a backhanded compliment. And like I said before, it contradicts everything else she says. Because she says, your dream can be, it doesn't have to be one way. It can be however you want. And that sounds great. But then later on in my show that I went to, it was like the woman had a specific dream and she said what she wanted to do. And then like, no, Rachel, is like, you need to pay off your mother's mortgage. You need to go to Hawaii. So, yeah.
Yeah. I know that was like the confusing message. And in our show, she didn't pull anyone off. She didn't talk to anyone on stage or bring anyone or give a microphone to anyone. So I didn't get that part of the experience. And we also didn't get to pick our song. So that was two things that we got, not included in on tour. So unfortunately I didn't get to hear anyone's goal or dream. And when we had to when you had to give your dream to somebody, I was sitting so far back away from everyone that like someone would have to walk several rows to like become my friend. So I just went to the bathroom at that point and avoided everybody.
I was because I was sitting far back from everyone else. But I just sat there like
Yeah, no
I
one
was
really moved around. Everyone stayed in their rows that I saw. Okay, let me go get my other charger. It'll be like a 60-second intermission, and I can plug in, and the lag will be better. So everyone, just give me 1 sec. I'm gonna put on my potty graphic so no one's confused. Okay, I'll be right back. Sorry, everyone. Oh, come on. Maybe not. Maybe I'll just stay here. Okay, well, bad news, everybody. Apparently this is the only charger that's in the house. So, I don't know. It's going to be a little laggy. I very much apologize. I guess my computer is like screwing up. So, I think Kendra will be okay. I'm just going to be behind. My video is going to be like, you know what I could probably do? Hold on. Maybe I'll make this easier for myself. We'll go old school. Maybe. Hold on. I'm so sorry, everybody. Black Friday, I'm planning to buy a desktop. Okay. Maybe. Slightly worse. I don't know. All right. Well, as we hope that this catches up with real time, I want to play the third clip. This is called Women versus Men. I named it. So, it's just what I took from it. Can you hear me, Kendra?
Yes.
Okay. This is towards the end of the show, and she's comparing. So, Rachel went. Oh, wait, we didn't talk about the Elton John stuff at all. Bernie Taupin. Before we do that, let's talk about the Bernie Taupin stuff. In the audience, a lot of people, and I didn't hear it back in the audio recording, but when I said, or people were like, you probably never heard of Bernie Taupin. Some people were like, yay, I know him. But she just ignored it. She's like, you probably never heard of him before. And people in the comments here are saying that they know who it is. So maybe he's not as like unknown as she thinks. I guess, like, again, which person are we? Are we Elton John or are we Bernie Taupin, and why? Like. Did I freeze?
No, you're fine on my end. Like, I keep looking at myself and I'm just like way far behind, but it's fine.
Okay, sorry. I really this is a problem. I don't know what to do about it. It just happened the other day to me, and for some reason the chart, if the laptop's not at 100% when I start, it'll lose power, even though it's plugged into the main energy source, and then it just slows down completely, and it screws it up. But I can hear you perfectly.
Yes, thank you.
So what do you think about the Bernie Taupin thing? Did people in your audience like know him? Did they make any reaction, or did they seem like they were really engaged with the story?
They were definitely engaged, because like I said, I was sitting a little bit far back once everyone moved up, but like in my section, they were very I think a couple of them did know, because they were like, yeah, or something like that, because you can hear kind of like people making like outside remarks, I guess. But yeah, they seem to be very engaged with the story and everything.
Yeah, I didn't get the part about the second grade teacher either. Like, okay, so you're supposed to be, I don't know, like we're supposed to appreciate people who don't have the big dreams that we have, but I think a lot of people in the audience were second grade teachers, or like, you know, in that type of profession. I don't think a lot of the people there are probably self-help gurus themselves. So there just wasn't enough, for me, enough examples of like, okay, what is a goal that's big and good in Rachel Hollis's mind? Because she didn't give many examples at all. It was like, get healthier. Okay, well, what does that mean? Like, get rich, you know? Okay, but that's different for everyone. There wasn't really a specific plan put in motion by Rachel, at least on stage. I mean, we had time to like write down things, but it's sort of, I wanted like more concrete examples. Like you got like at least one woman telling her story. Oh my gosh. Now we're getting bots. Oh my God. Oh my gosh. Hold on. I don't know what to do in this situation. Okay. Okay. Let's play the next clip. This is a little bit longer. It's 5 minutes long. We're probably going to be delayed, but maybe in the time that it takes to play it, we'll catch back up. And again, everyone, I'm sorry. Once again, this is my fault for not charging more on the computer. Okay, so this is men versus women. Now, Rachel has said many times she got involved with self-help through Tony Robbins. And that was one of the first conferences that she had gone to, I guess. And then she fell in love with him, not really as a person, but like with personal development because of Tony Robbins. So we can assume when she's talking in this clip that she's referring to her time at the Tony Robbins conference that she went to back in the day.
When I first started doing this work, the only examples I had were men. I never saw a woman on stage. And so the only examples I had were these men, and they were like crazy alpha, like super strong energy, and that, thank you. I'm so grateful for those people. I got to sit in an audience just like you, and I was like, oh my God, my face is melting off with your power. I can't, right? It was so awesome. And the first time I went to a personal development conference, I was on fire. I was like, this is who I am. I'm learning everything. Like, do any of you have someone in your life at home right now who's like a little scared that you're here? Anyone have a partner that's like, oh, Lord, you gotta come home tonight? You're like, boom. We're going on a juice cleanse. I've taken all the money out of our 401k. I've invested in a small business. Also, I'm no longer shaving my hoo-ha. Right? The first time I go to the stage, I'm like, oh my God, this is amazing. He's doing it. And one guy after another. I'm there for 1 day, I'm there for 2 days, 3 days. I'm like, yeah, this is who I am. This is amazing. And that morning I was like, I haven't seen a woman on this stage. It took me 3 days to realize that I had only been learning from dudes. Because ingrained in a certain way of existing. We're so used to never seeing someone who looks or acts or speaks like we do that we've come to accept it. We decide that the only teacher is someone who looks exactly like that. So on day 3 of this conference, I'm sitting there and I'm like, that's crazy. Surely they're going to bring out a woman. Like halfway through the day, I'm like, oh, Sally Mae, come on, sister. This is your moment. Come on, show them you got a uterus and let's have this, right? End of day 3, still no women on the stage. And I had spent the whole day pretty pissed off about this, and then suddenly something hits me upside the head. I think, maybe I could be that woman. Seriously, that is how all of this started. There was not a book, there was not a podcast, it was me being like, okay, well, if I have this vision, and if I have this dream, and if I want to be that woman, what must be true today that is not true yet? What must I do to walk in purpose and to become this thing? I had no idea what I was doing. I still don't half the time. I'm still in the back of my head remembering that I just said, and I no longer shave my hoo-ha, which I've never said on stage before, and now I feel really weird about it, guys. I still don't know what I'm doing. But here's what I know. That as I sat in that room and I listened to these men, and they were like, you're gonna go home, and you're gonna be so focused, laser focused, you're gonna be obsessed, you're gonna wake up on Monday morning, you're gonna eat only kale, you're gonna do this all day, and I was like, yeah, right? But the more they were going, they were like, go hard, believe in your dreams, succeed, hustle, and I was like, I gotta make school lunch! Because I do. I do. It's different for us. It's different. I don't care who you are. I don't care if you have kids or not. I don't care if you're in school. It is different for women. It is. And I love those teachers, and I'm so grateful for that wisdom. But I need someone who can talk to me about how you achieve the things you hope for in life while also being an exceptional mother. Because I care about that. I can't have one without the other. I need someone who can talk to me about how I do these things and believe and dream when I'm super hormonal and feel like I want to punch my boyfriend in his face. In his beautiful face. Just punch him. And then 2 hours later, I'm crying and eating pizza, and then 2 hours after that, I'm asking him to hold me. Like, tell me how it works. It's like you seeing like something that you wish existed in the world, and you keep complaining like, why doesn't this exist? Why doesn't this exist?
Okay, so there was a lot there. That was a long clip. But to me, I just felt like it took the stance, and she takes this stance often, that women are lesser than. Well, first of all, she thinks all women are mothers. That's number one. She always has that conclusion, in my opinion. She always says, I don't care if you have kids, but then the next second she'll say, but it's different for women who have goals because we have school lunch. Well, if I don't have kids, I won't have school lunch to make. So, where do I fit into that? But I just find it to be disempowering of women to say that we have to do goal setting differently because we need to be moms. Men are fathers as well. Are we just accepting that they don't have to consider those things in parenthood? I find the message to be very old-fashioned. What do you think?
I think this is something that you also talked about when you did your live stream. You talked about the event on, was that Monday? I feel like the week is just,
feels forever ago.
Right. It was Monday, right? Yeah. And I was like, I can't talk. I can only type what I want to say, and now I get to talk about it. But yeah, I definitely feel that way. I definitely feel like she always talks about motherhood, and a lot of people to that. I mean, just 2 years ago, I couldn't relate to that. And honestly, it is very old fashioned because everyone is not a mother. Everyone doesn't want to be a mother. Like, believe me, it's hard. Like, do it if you want to. Please don't do it if you don't want to. But then she also, like, so she's basically alienating a large part of the woman population. But I feel like that is like part of her brand to be mother. So she's gonna always throw that out there and she's gonna always say that. And that's part of her whole identity of being relatable. But then it also is throwing upon us gender norms. Like, why can't me and him help? Like, why am I the one that always has to make the lunch? You know what I'm saying? Like, should she be also giving that message? But I feel like then that is also going to alienate the people that she has in her audience. Because she gives this message that you're a mom, you're super mom, you can do this, you can do that, blah, 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 or whatever. But I'm just like, let fathers be fathers too. Let men do stuff too. Like, my husband is right now with our child and I am doing my own thing and I can depend on him to do that. Hey baby, I love you. He's watching this right now. Like, he's texting me like, look at the camera. But yeah, so I think it's also kind of like upholding like that old fashioned way of thinking because I believe that's a large part of her audience. And now she's kind of like trying to be like more like hippie and stuff about kissing girls and stuff like that. So I don't really think she knows who her audience is anymore. So she's kind of like mixing in her old identity with the new identity that she's trying to create or something. I don't know.
Yes, I agree.
It's all very confusing.
Yeah, it's a muddled message. I think you're totally right when it's like a little bit of old Rach, a little bit of new Rach, see what sticks. That's what I took away from it as well. And I think the mother thing bothers me because it's been something that she's, she can't let go of. And she, at one point, and I talked about this in my original Rachel kind of takedown video that I did when I first was getting into this sort of video about her. She was trying to target middle school and high school students at that time on TikTok, specifically talking to them and saying, hey guys, it's your first day of high school, like to the point where it was blatantly obvious that that was what she was trying to target. It's your big sister Rach here. And she was going after that demographic. So it's not like she never has ever wavered from the mamas, which is the one that has stuck the most, other mamas that are either stay-at-home moms or working moms, that are maybe upper middle class. That seems to be the type that really gravitated towards her the most, Christian as well. But then, she's taken these other side roads where she's tried to talk to, like I said, the middle school kids. Now she's trying to deal with like the hippie new age group, divorcees. Like there's a lot of people she's trying to bring on board, but then she knows what gets her audience riled up and excited, and it's talking about cracked nipples, uterus pain, pooping on the table while giving birth. Like that's her classics, and she can't let it go because I think she needs that that immediate, like, ah ha 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 ha, that's the Rach I know, while she's also exploring these other avenues. It's just not connecting for me because, again, like, okay, her perspective on the conference is maybe I could be the first woman. Am I the first woman speaker? She wasn't. There was women available when her first Tony Robbins conference in 2017. Like there were women speakers back then. Public speaking was allowed for women, and a lot of women did it. Now, were they,
Right.
Rachel Hollis status of like famous? No. Were they Tony Robbins status famous? No. But Tony Robbins, in my humble opinion, is a sexist man. So why doesn't she look at her idol and go, this guy does not have a diverse, teaching base of coaching and teachers of women because he doesn't like women. Maybe this is not for me. But instead, she's like, no, I'm going to be obsessed with him still. And I'm going to be the first speaker on his stage. It's like, it's such a weird take from that experience.
Right.
What do you think about Tony Robbins? Do you have any experience with him at all?
Okay, so I don't, and the reason why I don't is because I actually watched, I'm not sure if it was on Netflix or Hulu. I think it was on Netflix. I Am Not Your Guru. Was that on Netflix? Okay, I watched that. It was like very long. I want to say it was like 2 hours long. It was very long. It was like, and I tried to watch it. I tried to keep an open mind about it because I had heard about him before, like briefly. I didn't hear about anything necessarily good or bad about him at that time. So as I was watching this, I was just watching it and I was seeing how weird it was. Like, it was really weird to me how like people were like telling him these very kind of like traumatizing things about their life and stuff. And the first thing that I am thinking in my mind, I'm like, why are they saying this to this man? Like, who? Because I knew nothing about him. So I was like, why are they saying this to this man like this? Like, who is he? Like, and then I was like, why are they saying this in front of all these people? Like, why would you want to rehash your trauma in front of all of these people with this man who I had heard about him? I knew he was like some kind of self-help public speaker type. And most of those types, they aren't credentialed in any type of way. So in my mind, I was thinking, this man is not credentialed. And even if he was, it would probably go against his professional ethics to be doing this in front of an audience of people. It was just weird to me. And so I slogged through it. And the whole time I'm like, this is so weird. But I wanted to finish watching it. But it was so weird to me. Like, I couldn't continue like my open mind when I looked at it. And when I finished it, I was like, this was a waste of my time. And so because it was a waste of my time and I thought it was so weird, and I kind of thought the people, I wouldn't say that they were weird, but I was like, this was such a waste of my time. But I understand though, because when you are in a vulnerable place, you look for help any way you can. And so if you read someone's book, if people have all these great testimonials about this person, like, they're going to be open to going and seeing them, they're talking to them, getting help from them or whatever. They're going to be open to that because they're in a vulnerable spot. They're looking for help in any way that they can get it. And I was just thinking like how he was talking to these people and like, you know, being so aggressive with them, and it was just weird to me. That's all. And so because I had that experience, I never wanted to see anything from him. I never wanted to read anything about him. There have been videos that have popped up on YouTube about him that I wanted to watch, but I never did. And it was because it was 2 hours of my time that I could never get back. And I was like, do I want to watch this? Do I want to learn about him? So, yeah. But now that you say that, I probably am going to watch it now.
Yeah, he seems to be, I call him Papa Robbins because he's like the head dog of all of these other people who follow the self-help people. And Rachel really wanted to be the female version of Tony Robbins, which she sort of did become at a certain point, I think, or was on the way to. You know, Tony Robbins has had a long career in doing what he's doing. He started off in the seminar space before there was the internet, and then has, you know, continued to rise now with new media. But he is very problematic. And the fact that, you know, I think it was like between, I don't want to give the exact date, but between 2015 and 2018, when she wrote Girl Wash Your Face, was when she was posting about Tony and going to these conferences and things. So it's not like, oh, in 1985, you know, she was at this conference. This is like within the last decade. And, you know, to not have any women on stage, that's a choice that he's making purposely, in my opinion. You know, whether it is or not, I don't know. And he's another one that has a team of women that are behind the scenes. that were in that documentary that you mentioned, that were helping him and writing down notes and things. But then the people on stage, the only ones who get the Elton John level of fame are men. So it's almost like she's taking on exactly what, and she copies Tony a lot, just in his style she takes on, I think. It's more than obvious that she went to his conference, liked it. It's 3 days. She made her conference 3 days. She tries to mimic the NLP style, which is neuro-linguistic programming that he does at his conferences when he, asks an affirming question. Like, okay, for example, he'll go, and she does this, and I think she did this at her Rach Talk Live. She'll say, or he'll say, you want to change your life, right? Right. Everyone who wants to change their life, say I, and everyone together is supposed to, agree. And that's supposed to make you feel like you're a part of a group that's working together to change their life, whatever. I was a Tony Robbins fan in the sense of I liked all of those self-help people when I was in a very vulnerable place in my life. And until I got into therapy, anything that thankfully I didn't have any money, so I couldn't go to any of these conferences. I think the message is not dangerous, but bad for women. That, we know our place and men have their place, and that's empowering somehow. I just don't like it, personally. I'm sorry, we're still super lagging again, so I know it's difficult. I appreciate you sticking around and trying to work with me on this. And also I want to say, Beth Peters, thank you very much. I'm a little late to this as well. But Beth Peters says, happy Friday to me. I had don't shave hoo-ha and my uterus and exceptional mother on my Hollis bingo card. So she's got bingo from listening. Thank you very much. And Laura F. says, I absolutely hate the, quote, women are crazy because we have periods rhetoric too. It's so misogynistic. I agree. I think this is something Rachel does a lot as well, where she'll say, especially now when she's on this thing now where she's like, I'm balancing my hormones, and that this is her whole life, like why her life was in turmoil before, because her hormones were not balanced, and so she'll say, like, I just, was so angry on my period, and I just need to, not talk to anyone for those 4 days, and I just need to eat my chocolate. It's like so stereotypical, but she plays right into it because it's like appealing to, like, oh, women are such bitches, right? Like that's like the trope that I think she's projecting or pushing on to others. Oh, let me ask you this, Kendra. What did you think about the DJ on stage being a man and the guy on doing the camera work being a man as the two other people other than Rachel who are visual in this production? How does that make you feel as someone as she is, like, trying to promote women in the in all these jobs?
I really didn't give it, a second mind as I went to the show and everything. And in fact, now that you say that, because I know this is something that you talked about on your review on Monday, I didn't even see the cameraman. Like I was late, so he probably was there. I was just late, so I never saw him. But I really didn't give it a second mind. I didn't think about it. But I did think about it once you brought that up, when you were talking about, she's surrounded by all these men and everything, but, you're all on the women's empowerment thing. And so I think it's an excellent point to think about. Basically, like, who are you going to surround yourself with? Who are you going to give opportunities to? Like, because I definitely feel like I'm biased. So if I had the, power to hire, my own staff and everything, I'm going to definitely give people a chance who not necessarily would have had those opportunities. Just thinking about diversity in that aspect. So she's all about, like, being diverse as far as women goes. Mm-hmm. So why aren't you giving women, more opportunity to be seen and all of that?
Yeah, that was my take as well. I mean, I'm very much into the lore of it all, and Jack is the camera guy, and he's sort of a part of her storytelling in the sense of, he's behind the camera recording her because she always talks to him. Excuse me. So, him as a man, it's fine. But I'm a videographer in my real life, and videography, at least in the production side, at least in my experience, tends to be very male dominated, and so it does help. And I feel sort of a kinship with other women who are in the video production field, and when there's a woman empowerment group, it would be nice, and maybe, I am biased here, but it would be nice to see a woman taking on and making a career of videography, especially working with a woman who's like, any of your dreams can be accomplished. Now, maybe that's a little harsh, but that's what I see, that's a job that I could do, but it's still being held by a man. In her case, why? I want to know her explanation, I guess. It's just like, he's the best person that's ever done video? No. It's just, I don't know. I think she wants to be the woman that's successful.
Mm-hmm. Yes. That's an awesome point. And I honestly think it's kind of stereotypical as what we as women a lot of times find in like the corporate world. And it's a bad stereotype, but honestly it happens a lot. Because I can think about when I talked about that toxic work environment that I worked in, my supervisor was a woman and she was an awful person. And she made everyone miserable, and she's not the first woman, that I had to work under those working conditions.
And women are not perfect in any sense. Like, oh, you put a woman in a position and she's going to be amazing compared to a man. I never would say that. But I just think it's sort of like weird when you work in a company that has such strong culture and strong messaging, and then the unsaid messaging, okay, the guy on stage with you is a man. The guy who's working behind the camera with you is a man. It's just a little bit odd to me personally. But you gave me a thought when you said about the workplace. I don't know how much you know about this part, but before they got divorced, Dave and Rachel, Dave used to be a executive at Disney. I'm looking at the wrong camera. Dave used to be an executive at Disney and made a lot of money there and decided to quit to become the CEO of Rachel's company. So even though she is boss babe number one in our hearts, when push came to shove, she allowed her husband to rise above her in title. Isn't that sort of kind of against the message as well of women are, get your bootstraps and let's lead the world?
But I don't think it goes against the message of one thing that rich people like to do is be richer.
Yeah.
So if you can hire your husband to be the CEO of your company and leave the money in the family, then that's what you're going to do.
True. This is going to be a little controversial comment, but I feel like money, and I've always sort of thought this, but class, money and wealth, always surpasses the secondary group that you're in. So whether it's race, whether it's gender, whether it's nationality, once you get to a certain level of wealth, that becomes your community, no matter what, across all levels. I don't know if that's true, but that's how I feel. It's even talking about, this is a little off topic, but Kanye, once he's got millions and millions of dollars, he no longer aligns with any of the other groups he once belonged to. Now he's rich person.
I'm like, how can this be the same man that says George Bush doesn't like black people? How is this the same person? It's not.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Totally out of touch with black people.
Yeah, and I think Rachel the same. She became rich person, so women go, I no longer align or need to have women as like my group. I am now, and she said that she's a guy's gal. She likes whiskey and putting golf, so she doesn't even like women that much. Really.
So I'm not like the other girls. She's one of those types. Okay.
Yeah, which is sort of obvious, but yeah, I don't know. That's just, I think she claims to be empowered and enlightened at this point. She doesn't say enlightened, but she's woo woo and like very modern and all that. I think she's still got a lot to work through when it comes to her conditioning with gender, her ex-husband issues, her dad issues, the church. She's got a lot more work to do before she's, in my opinion, ready to teach other women how to step into their own voice. That's all I'll say.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think we all have a lot of growing and all that stuff to do, and I think it's very. And I'm totally not trying to take up for her, but I think it's very hard when you are like thrown into the spotlight, or you set yourself up to be in the spotlight.
Sure.
Everybody is going to just nitpick at you and talk about you, and of course some of that stuff you bring on yourself when you say some of those things. But of course, it's hard when we still are like imperfect human beings, and we're trying
Definitely.
to guide people to be, I guess,
Better.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I've said this before, and maybe I should say it more or at the top of my streams. And my therapist agrees that I'm dealing with a lot of my issues with my own mother by talking about Rachel because they remind me of each other, but I'm not ready to like face my mom yet. So me nitpicking Rachel to the degree that I do has helped me kind of clear the space for the conversations that need to be had with my own mom. And it's all a projection, I think, and so I want to be honest with people. Like, Rachel is a human being that's just trying to do something in the world, whether I agree with it or not, is not even of consequence. But, I think I specifically look at her so closely because she reminds me of someone in my own life. So I think she's worse than some other self-help people, but she's not like special in any way. I think I just have a certain deeper connection because she reminds me of my mom's personality.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah. Yes. Okay. I also want to say thanks to Chels Marie from a while back sending a thumbs up to us. And I'm going to see if there's any other ones that I've missed. Thank you guys for all of the super chats. I do appreciate it. Yeah, let's do a clear. I think it's also pouring rain outside, so I don't think that helps matters when it comes to the stream when it starts to storm.
Clear.
Okay. I hate to try to do this because I think it's going to be slow. I think the audio will work, but I would like to try to play that Oprah clip. So I might be walking into disaster, but I think we should try it. What do you think?
We can try anyways.
Okay. And again, I appreciate everyone sticking around, and also Kendra for being 20 seconds delayed and still making it work on her end. So I appreciate it.
It's like the weirdest thing ever.
I bet. I'm sorry. I know. If you ever come back, please come back again, and I will have a updated computer. Hopefully, that's my goal. I was gonna wait till Thanksgiving for Black Friday to buy it, but I think I might just have to,
It's like in less than a month. Like, you're gonna save so much money.
I know, you're right. I could just charge. You've convinced me to save the money. It's just so weird that all of a sudden now it's doing this thing, but oh well. It's we're on a budget. We're balling on a budget here on the Keya's World.
Monday stream was awesome. Like,
yeah, it's weird because on Wednesday it did this, and it's only when the laptop's not 100% charged. And but I've been in bed more this week, so I've been not charging it. We'll figure it out. And by we, I mean me at some later time. Okay, let me get it queued up. So basically, and if you've seen this video before, I apologize to everybody. I know I've played it many, many times. It's only 7 minutes. But basically, Rachel I wonder if, well, okay. The part about it that's interesting is that she says she's an alcoholic. That's the most important thing because she's doing shots on stage. And she doesn't go into every detail of the tampon story in this video, but she talks about it a little bit. But let me tell you the tampon story, and then you'll get the full context when you watch the video. So the tampon story is essentially that one time Rachel put a tampon in, and I guess she was on her period, I'm assuming, and she forgot about it. And she put another one in and forgot about the other one that was already there. And I'm sorry, this is disgusting. I just retelling the story. I apologize. And she even went so far as to have sex with her ex-husband with this tampon in, right? And he felt weird. He said later, he admitted that he felt weird, but didn't tell her because he didn't want to make her feel bad. And then 3 weeks go by, and she discovers said lodged tampon. And she says it's all gross and it comes out weird and it's like, disgusting as it would be. And she says the lesson of that is, number one, that there's always things that you're forgetting about if you're not paying attention. Okay. And then secondly, don't trust people who are just nice to you and don't want to, make you feel bad at the expense of your health or something. Because she was already divorced at this point when she told the story this time. That Dave not telling her that he felt something while they were having sex was hurtful to her. So that's the tampon story. And that's the story she decides to tell on Oprah's Soul Sunday thing. So that's the story. And then you'll get a little bit of that. Oh my gosh.
In the middle of 2019, I made a decision.
Hold on. We're going to go there. Oh my gosh.
That I would no longer.
Oh yeah. That's another thing too. She says, she decided back in 2019, that she was no longer going to speak on other people's stages anymore. She was only going to speak on her own stage because she was getting paid $100,000 to $200,000. I'm going to go to my other camera, to speak at like doTERRA, MLM, and Beachbody and other places she was speaking at that time. She was making a lot of moolah. But she wants people to come to her events where she can make more moolah, basically. She wanted to corner the market on Rachel Hollis on stage. Okay, so here we go. Here's the video. Fingers crossed.
In the middle of 2019, I made a decision that I would no longer speak on other people's stages. I knew that it meant that I wasn't going to be able to meet as many of you or hug your necks or sign as many books, but it did mean that I would be able to be home with my family more, which is the highest priority in my life. And so I made this decision. I said, I'm not speaking on anybody else's stages. And then jokingly, I said to my husband, unless Oprah calls. That this keynote, the one that was yesterday, October 30th, would be the last time that I speak on someone else's stage, unless Oprah calls.
Got this music. Okay, so basically, Oprah called. So now this is her big exception to her new rule.
I am doing a keynote for Oprah Winfrey.
What?
Will I pee my pants? Probably. Will I throw up?
My God!
I'm 100% that even when I'm crying crazy. Yeah, I got 4 problems as a human in me. Bling bling, and I solve them. That's the goddess in me. You gotta have a better like a middle. Help me with your career, just a little.
This reminded me of your comment when she's like, I can't pop bottles and rent private airplanes. She was. 2019 was like her peak career. Like this was, what was going on at that time. And she claims she hated it all, hated every minute of it. Doesn't look like that to me in this clip. And she's wearing fur coats.
And then sometimes I talk really loud, and then sometimes I bring it in deep. I was gonna go to an inappropriate place, and there's a little girl back there, and so I won't do it. This is jumping up and down, and I'm gonna do that.
We'll find out. So like, whatever happens, happens. No? Let's plan on that. And then she sits,
Yeah, that.
there and watches.
Just heard Hoda. It's so fine. It's
Yeah.
just the most normal day of my life.
I have told myself for a month, she's not even gonna hear what you say. She's gonna be getting a touch up and eating a granola bar. She's not even. Not for 1 minute did I think she would listen to what I said. So that's. Did you know that was gonna be okay with you and her? At the end, and I told them, I was like, can I just forego the Q&A and have more time to speak? And they were like, no, that's like her. She's an interviewer. That's what she does.
I just want to say point one more thing out before we get to the thing. She also dressed up like a tampon for this speech. White on white on white. I'm just going to say. I find that to be a choice on purpose. I'm convinced of it, that there's some visual, trickery going on here. Okay, let's continue.
Before I ever, when it was like, okay, we're going to do this thing, I was like, I'm going to tell the tampon story.
Okay, so you're just gonna let it happen. Tampon story feels ballsy, which I understand was the two different body parts, with her staring at you. but that's kind of part of the magic. Oh my God.
I intentionally start keynotes to new audiences by telling a funny story and embarrassing myself because I want you to know real fast, nope, I'm just a girl like you.
Relatable.
And right now you're like, oh, wow, you chose to tell that story on Oprah's stage to 15,000 people who don't know you.
There has been a foreign object living in my body for 3 weeks.
And half the audience is dying laughing. And half the audience is like, what the hell is going on? But I'm committed. This is me, like the Greatest Showman. I'm like, you can't stop now. And you guys, she gets up from her seat.
Oh my God. Look at her. If you look at him, it will steal every ounce of momentum you have built up. Okay?
The work that I'm doing it wasn't for Oprah. It wasn't for her. It's for the mom with 3 kids who's struggling to find a new job. It's for the dad who's trying to get control of his health. It's for the girl in college who is suffering from anxiety and feels like she's so alone. I want so desperately to impress my hero, but she's not who this is for. We continue talking, and the last question she asks me is, man, you've had this book, and she's talking about Girl Wash Your Face, and she said it's been on the New York Times for 84 weeks, and people just love it. And what do you think it is? Like, why do you think that people have just latched onto your voice and your teaching style? Like, what is it? Why do they like it so much? And I looked at her with respect, and I said,
so I'm going to throw you off right now and say the books took off because I'm willing to tell you the tampon story. Because in a world where everything is so perfect, I raised my hand and said, I struggle with this, and I feel like a bad mom, and I was an alcoholic, and I didn't know how to have sex with my husband, and I said all the things that a lot of people are going through, and I think there is commonality. No matter how different we are more alike than we are different. We are.
Girls, thank you. Thank you, Rachel Hollis!
the only way that you're going to elevate ever in your life, no matter how high up you are or how low down you are, is that you've got to put yourself in situations where you know you can fail, where you feel uncomfortable, where you have no idea how you're going to get to the other side, and then you do. Getting to speak on Oprah Winfrey's stage is one of the highlights of my career, is one of the bigger moments of my adult life, and I will remember it for the rest of my life. I will remember the conversation that she had with me. I will remember the things that she said. And if that is the only chance I ever have in my life to meet my hero, it exceeded every expectation.
Okay, there it is. So, what are your first impressions on that video?
I think it's cool. She got to meet her hero, but she made the statement that this wasn't for Oprah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right.
Which I found funny because this is your hero. You, and she was like, I wanted to impress her. But did you really? I think when she chose that story and that's what you wanted to say, and that it was all about her. It was all about her. Came there with an agenda. It wasn't anything that was like middle of the road, safe. Oprah will still like me at the end of the day. Maybe I'll get invited back. She didn't care about any of that. Yeah. She did that with a purpose, and it was for her to get her name out there, to continue to be popping, because she wanted to make it all about Rachel Hollis and not about Oprah at all.
Yeah, it's Oprah's stage, but it's Rachel Hollis's moment, and she wants to make that clear. Two interesting things stick out to me. The one is that Oprah's her hero, right? But then she in the car, it's hard to hear because they didn't record it with a microphone. But she says, I asked them, if I could just avoid being interviewed by Oprah, so I could just go longer on stage. If that's truly your hero, wouldn't you want to be interviewed by her? Wouldn't that be the goal?
I didn't hear that part, but that makes perfect sense though, because it was all about her at the end of the day.
And I find it highly suspect that I've never heard the audio, because you see them hugging at the end and talking, and there's multiple people recording that. There's a guy recording it, and then whoever's recording the video here. They did not play that audio, and I wonder if Oprah was like, hey girl, no, don't do that again. Because I just think that she would have played the conversation, the audio, if it was like, girl, that was amazing, you're so talented. I think Oprah was like, that was embarrassing.
I don't think she was impressed. I don't think she was impressed at all, because I don't know what time frame that was done. So I don't know if that was going on while she was doing the Super Soul Sunday thing. What do you know? Because I feel like that would be the highlight, for you to have a one-on-one sit-down Super Soul Sunday with Oprah.
Oh yeah.
In my mind, that is what I imagine the pinnacle of a self-help person's career is.
Yeah.
But once again, just my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. I just think, and then the fact that she said, if this is the only chance I have to meet her, to me means probably things did not go well and she was not expecting an invite back. So I just have my doubts. And the reason why she came out with this, I think she always tries to cover her tracks. So she tries to get ahead of a story potentially. Like someone could have said like she bombed at Oprah's stage. So she makes this like cutesy video to go, oh no, I chose to bomb. I bombed on purpose to help, college girls. I don't know, whatever she was saying.
Whatever type of narrative she creates.
Yeah, like that story is not helpful to anyone. But the part she's like, I raised my. Oprah's like, why do you think this book is so crazy popular? And she's like, because I stood up and in a world full of perfect, I'm imperfect. I am not relatable. Basically, I was an alcoholic. I just find that she was proclaiming that back in 2019 to be so crazy still that was like I'm not nuts putting that on her. She's the one who has said that publicly. How did you recover from your alcoholism? I have not heard that story other than like I looked in the mirror and said no more. I guess I don't know.
Right, that was pretty much like what she said at the Rach Talk Live in Joliet. She didn't really explain how she overcame all those things because she talked about like excessive drinking. She didn't label it as alcoholism, but she talked about drinking a little bit too much wine every day and using it to cope. She didn't say it, but you could assume from the description that she used. And then she talked about her binge eating and stuff like that. But she really didn't say like how she overcame all those things.
Yeah, and I think that's a story worth telling because especially as someone who continues to drink, I'm not going to say heavily, but she talks about drinking quite a lot, even if in joking form, she's, joking about, oh, this water bottle's full of vodka. My boyfriend and I are going to get a margarita. Like, she's always bringing it up casually. And she did this one interview or a video where she gets her brain scanned. It's one of my big pet peeves, this guy who does brain scanning. And he told her, no alcohol. Like if you care about your brain, and she loves this guy. She talks about him and has him on the show multiple times a year on her podcast. He's like, no alcohol. And she's like, okay. And then since then has totally obviously said, screw it, I'm going to do whatever I want. So it's obviously medical professionals have told her do not drink anymore, and she still continues to drink. And this is coming from someone who called herself an alcoholic. You must be really impressive, like with your ability to decide that you're no longer an alcoholic. I don't know.
I don't know either.
Yeah. And her ex-husband recently in the last year went to rehab for alcohol. Well, yeah, for alcohol. As a secret. Then it became public because his girlfriend, Heidi, we talked about her briefly, mistakenly outed him, basically, saying that he was in California doing something. And then it came out that he was in rehab for alcohol abuse. So it's interesting that she also is, as someone, I know she's their exes, so she has no, necessarily like allegiance to him anymore. But it's a little disrespectful, I think. Your ex-husband, the father of your children, is admittedly going through this, traumatic alcohol rehab program, and you're talking about drinking vodka and taking shots on stage when you called yourself an alcoholic in the past. It just doesn't seem fair to me, personally. I don't drink, so that's also part of it, why I care so much. Because it's hard not to drink. It is hard. It's very difficult. All your friends go away if you're a big drinker. So, like you have to.
Because my husband is from a culture where they don't drink. Like none of that. And he often asks me, like, why do Americans drink so much? Like, it's so hilarious. I was like, they just do. It's like, part of the culture, and it's really ingrained in our society. It really is. But I talked about it in my part 2 video. Like, I have alcoholics in my family, and it's very hard for me to say that they're done with it. They're done with this disease if they're still engaging in those behaviors.
Yeah.
And like I even talked about, like me living a healthy lifestyle and me not binge eating and overeating. Like I can't be like, oh, I'm about to go hard this weekend and say that I'm living a healthy lifestyle, because they don't coexist. They don't.
Yeah, and the one pet peeve, yeah, I agree with you 100%. The one pet peeve I have too with anyone who claims to be like living in optimum health, which is something she said recently. That's what she lives her life to do. You know, she rattled off like 10 supplements that she takes a day. She talks about eating clean and like, you know, she exercises, all the things she does to be, I would say, be better than everyone else, but to be healthy. I'll be nice. How does that make the cut? Like, you won't take an anxiety medication because you're afraid that it's going to cause you problems, but you're fine with drinking tequila. I just don't find that to be something I can comprehend.
It's the truth. It's totally the truth. And I think this was like on a lot of people's radar when C-19 was running rampant and no one wanted to get a shot of any kind. But
Yeah.
you do other things. You put other substances in your body. But you're scared of this. So
it makes no sense to me. You know, I know it's a very controversial topic. And, you know, for the record, I'm very pro-vaccine, the word. You know, I'm all about it. Do it, get it. You know, I'm about respecting rights too, but at a certain time, you know, there's a collective need that needs to be done for this to work. And, you know, I'm just sick of, well, it's my freedom that's at stake. It's like, I don't want to hear it anymore. Like,
because those people have never lived in a time where people died of childhood diseases.
Yeah.
My husband comes from a country where people die of those diseases. Mm-hmm. He asked me once again, like, why don't people want to do this again? I'm like, America, freedoms.
Yeah. And I'm grateful for the freedoms that we have, but I think it does at a certain point, freedom, it becomes clouded, like what freedom actually is. Like, we have freedoms here because we work together. We have to live together. You aren't living in a bubble on your own. That's not what freedom is. It's like freedom to make choices within a society. And so sometimes you got to take one for the team, people. That's my opinion. So, and, you know, speaking of that, I don't know if Rachel has claimed to be the biggest liberal ever. I don't know if that's true any longer. She seems to be much more down a wellness path, which I don't think wellness people are necessarily liberal politically. But, you know, in one of her more recent streams, she talked about not getting the flu and someone offering her a flu vaccine, you know, for flu season, and her saying, "Oh no, it's okay. I don't get sick." And I find that to be a wink, wink, nod, nod. I'm also not going to get C-19. I don't know. That seems dangerous to me.
It seems very dangerous, as you said, but then also very incompassionate. No compassion at all towards your audience or fans or whomever, because so many people lost their lives. So many people lost family members. So many people are now still dealing with long haul. And
yeah,
I have someone in my life that deals with long haul. They lose energy very quickly. It was to the point where she thought that she was going to pass away because she was always weak. She was always sick. She was crying. And if you don't hear that, you don't experience those firsthand things, like, I'm sorry, you need to shut up. Like, you really do. Because you have no sympathy for people who have had their whole entire life turned upside down, people whose family has just been wiped out. And we're not even talking about your frontline workers, nurses, doctors, people like that, like they didn't know if they were gonna make it.
Yeah.
Like they had little kids. I'm sorry, I'm just going off on a rant right now.
I'm with you.
Very serious. They didn't know if they were gonna make it home to their children, and it's just like, girl, shut up. I'm sorry. Like that just really strikes a chord with me, because I had to by my own father who suffers from a lot of health conditions, and he was so careful. Like he would not leave the house, and my mom, she was masked up, gloved up, everything up. He left to like bring stuff back and stuff like that, and I it just makes me sad. That's all I can really say about that.
Yeah, and I think it's a privilege, to even turn down a flu shot in a way, Not everyone has access. In this country, we have some access. Not everyone. If you're rich, you have more, of course. But like you said, in other countries, they had to wait months and months and months, and they had heavier restrictions than we did. And we were complaining about masks in public. It's like, for someone who, and she's big on gratitude, and all these self-help people are the same. As much as they're like, be grateful for the things you have in life, it's like, yeah, but then don't also now tell people, well, if you don't want to get sick, just believe you won't. It's like, that's not being very, very, very grateful for all the things that make it possible for you to have health in your life. And a lot of that is, costing money and having the money to afford it. We can talk about food deserts. We could talk about access to water. Like, people in Flint, Michigan are living their best, healthiest life, and they're just choosing to like get, brown tap water. Yeah, I'm sure that's what they're choosing with their mindset. It's like, it only works until it doesn't. All this, believe and you will achieve really only works for people who are already on the path to success. You're probably middle or upper middle class and you're bored, and now you're at a self-help seminar and all you could really do is go up from there. And I think that's what you have to keep in mind when listening to these people talk. They'll talk to you as if it's like, oh, anyone this relates to. But I mean, even the discussion about taking risks really only applies to people who have money. Because if you took a risk and you have $20 in your bank account, that risk is much riskier than someone who's got, parents that can help them out. Like if you start a restaurant and it fails, okay, I'll just call mom and dad and they can help me out, or I can pull out of my 401k or whatever. So you got to keep in mind who they're talking about is probably not you if you're lower class. But that's where a lot of their audience is. That's where it's I don't know.
It's like the myth of the self-made millionaire,
Yeah.
Like you do have some people that rise from nothing. But a lot of those stories started with a loan from mom and dad. They just did.
Yeah. Or a husband that worked at Disney as a top executive. We forget these people at the end. We're like, oh, I did it all by myself. It's like,
no, you didn't.
No, you didn't. Yeah.
Because, a lot of us have to clean our own house or take care of our kids. You can just pay someone to do those things.
Yeah.
Which you have more time to work on your dream.
Yeah. That was one thing that Rachel used to say. She sort of stopped now, but she was a big pusher of, we all have the same hours in the day as Beyonce, so why don't you do more, It's like, okay, Beyonce has.
Oh, I hate that. I hate that narrative. I really do, because we all have 24 hours, but we lead a completely different lives. Like,
yes,
totally different lives.
Yeah, like if you have money to pay for a nanny, pay for a house cleaner, have a house that's in your name and you're collecting equity on it, like those are all things that help you and help your mindset, that like while you're spending time writing a book that may not be successful or starting a podcast that may not ever be listened to, puts your mind at ease. Like, I'm not going to sacrifice my children's health and well-being by doing this. But the lower down the economy you go, or economic status you go, it just bothers me, because I came from a fairly lower class upbringing, and like you had one, I had one shot is what I said, like thought, like I went to college and I maxed out every single loan and that was my chance and that was it. Like if I messed up, I was going to be in a bad situation.
There's no safety net. You go back home to your hometown, you get ostracized, made fun of, you didn't make it, you have your family down your throat because you were the one that was supposed to make it.
Yeah.
You feel like you messed up.
Yep. Yeah, and taking out loans and all that. And it really bothers me when someone will tell you, you're just scared. You're just scared of failure. It's like, do you know what? Your failure and my failure are two different things. You might be embarrassed and I might be homeless. Or like the next guy could be losing their insurance or what, you know, like it's just not fair to say, oh, you're just afraid. Like, yeah, if I had your situation, I wouldn't be afraid either of making a stupid snafu, you know?
Right.
Yeah. I'm fired up, Kendra.
I love that point because you have embarrassment, but I have like homelessness. Like,
but do you think they know, like when people say that, and I think, you know, a lot of it comes from motivational speakers and actors. I also hear, or musicians too, like, I don't know what a good example is, but like a lot of people listen to like Denzel Washington's like motivation or Matthew McConaughey. It's not only motivational speakers that do it professionally, but, you know, or Rocky Balboa, like Sylvester Stallone will tell a story about how he made it in Hollywood. And I think these aspirational, I was really poor and then I took 20 risks and then now it's paid off to be a millionaire. You know, I don't think it's super helpful. I think before I did, I was like, oh, wow, it's inspiring. And now I really think there's usually parts of the story they left out on purpose, I think, to make it a better story. And also it's like statistically, 1 out of I mean, there's 1 million people in like my little area where I'm at now. Like if one of us succeeds, that's still a failure of the city. So I don't know. It just these, and it's like they say like survivorship bias. You only hear the person who made it. You don't hear from like the millions of people who went and then now are living in LA on Skid Row that didn't make it, you know? And we hold these stories up in such a high pedestal and I don't think they should be anymore.
I feel like there needs to be some type of balance.
Yes.
And I say that because I do don't say that I do say a lot of positive things on my channel because I don't know if your audience knows, I don't know if you know, like I've been on a weight loss journey like my entire life. And I know that a lot of people do not have support. In fact, they're sabotaged at every moment of their waking day. And they turn to people on the internet for help because they don't know where to go because they're not educated on nutrition or whatever they have going on in their life. And they just need somebody that maybe can relate to them and maybe offer them some positivity.
Yeah.
But that's where that balance comes in. Like, I'm going to give you the real. I'm not going to tell you like, oh, it's been all sunshine and roses and butterflies and rainbows because it has not, you know. And then I also do always try to identify the privilege that I have, you know, because I am like not a single mother. I can't relate to that. Like I have help at home, you know, and I am not struggling financially, you know, so there are things that I can afford. I can afford to, you know, live a healthier lifestyle because I can afford to go to the grocery store and I have a grocery store in my neighborhood, you know, like things at my disposal. So I think like it takes a balance of identifying your privilege, also being positive because people do need to hear it, but then also talking about the negatives. Like it's gonna be hard for whatever it is that you're trying to do, and then also identify those risks. You know, identify, like you said, how like it's a you know 1 in a billion chance that this is actually going to work out in your favor. People need because they might have a family that they have to support and they can't go running off chasing dreams because they need to work. You know?
Yeah, they can't even get sleep. How are they going to dream? They're like working so much. And that's like not a personal problem. That's a result of the system we're in. and the way that it worked. I mean, if everyone was a millionaire, the whole economy would collapse. You couldn't do it. There's no way that we could all be king. It's just not possible. So, but everyone thinks that they are the next millionaire, the next whatever, instead of thinking like, this is my situation and I got to make it count or make it worth it. And it's tough.
And I think there's a lot ingrained in our society, especially with the microwave society that we live in, like, especially with social media. It's like we're taught that these young guys out here, they have to have a really muscular body and, drive a Lamborghini and get all the girls or whatever, and then have to look a certain way and dress a certain way and have this designer thing. Like, for what? Like, no one cares at the end of the day. I've always worked in higher education, and I advised preclinical nursing majors for a long, long time. And that was their dream. Their dream was to be a nurse.
Yeah.
And it's totally fine if that's what you want to do. Like, you can have an amazing life and you can lead an amazing life. You can help others. You can get a paycheck. You can get a mortgage, and I mean, that's the stuff that people need to be told is okay. They don't have to be on a TV screen to be like an amazing person and live an amazing life.
I agree. I think I'm going to blame the media for that, to be honest. And I come from a media background. I was a broadcast journalism major and worked in the industry for a little while, and both in TV and newspaper, and then a digital startup. So I kind of saw all three, like the past, the TV, and then the future with the internet. So in all of them, what makes the story is the most extreme of whatever's going on, always. And it's the most extreme negative. It's the most extreme positive. And it's also the people who have favors to cash in. Those are the three things that make the news. And it's disheartening for sure to see it from the inside, to see like, oh, why is this a story? Oh, well, I knew a guy in college. He's a PR professional. I'm going to put his client on air to talk about his product, not because it's a good product necessarily, but because it's a favor. That definitely happens in news for sure. And then secondarily to that, it's someone who's super controversial, pushes dangerous ideas, or has an amazing rags to riches story that half the time turns out to be grossly exaggerated or just, a 1 in a million chance. Like, of course, someone wins the lottery, every single day across the country. People win all the time. But then do you watch the follow-ups about how miserable these people are that win the lottery? Like, and it's like, are you going to play the lottery every day as your hope that you could be a winner? Or are you going to take the $2 and figure out what you would want to spend that on? I don't know. Now we're going off topic a little bit. Like, it's a lot of, I think I felt deceived by all this hope. I was the most hopeful person in the world. And I was a Miss Positive, like, good vibes only type of person, if you can believe it, until I looked in the mirror after a long time and was like, I need help, like mental health help. And once I got it and got a lot of help, I just see things a little bit more realistically now. And I just think like, yeah, life is sort of, you got to do what you got. Like, you can't just live your life going, one day I'm going to be famous and then I'll be happy. That's what I was doing, and I was wasting my life. And I don't want other people to do that either, because it's just going to be sad, a sad existence, in my opinion.
And I would say that I was the complete opposite. I always had a very negative outlook on life.
Interesting.
Because, like, good things never happened to me. I grew up poor. I was fat. I always got name called. Like, I hated looking in the mirror. I was a Black girl. I never saw anybody giving any type of representation. Like, I didn't have a good life, like, growing up. And I was always negative. I thought the worst of everything. I thought the worst of people, because that was my experience. I have been treated the worst by people. So that's all I had to look, and that's all I had to see. And of course, mental health situation. I've been through a million therapy sessions, a million counselors throughout the years. Thank God for that.
Yeah, there you go.
Like once my mindset started shifting to think a little bit more positive, but to be cautiously optimistic about things, I believe that's when my life started changing. And this has been probably
Interesting.
within the last in my 30s, so very recently, actually.
Yeah, same.
But I feel like I'm definitely a realist because I'm not gonna say like I'm gonna be on the front cover of a magazine. It's just not gonna happen, you know.
Yeah. You never know. I always leave room for like, you never know. You know, I could rescue someone on the highway and then there I am. But, you know, there's always room for like something extraordinary, but keeping it in mind, like that would be extraordinary. Not my only reason for, you know, existing is to try to be this version of like perfection, which is never going to happen. And it's interesting that, you know, I think I was the toxically positive version of myself and then came to find the balance of like, okay, some things are good, some things are bad. And then you were like the more negative and then came to be like, you know what, things are not that bad. And so we can find the middle ground a little bit. Since you brought up your weight loss journey, I just have it's sort of random, but what do you think about the shows that were popular back in like 2005, 2008? And I asked this because Heidi Powell and her ex-husband Chris, they starred on a show, Extreme Makeover Weight Loss Edition, and then it became later Extreme Weight Loss, And they basically, you know, they were a little different in the sense of you had a whole year to lose weight, but it was like weekly weigh-ins and all that. What do you think about those shows? And also the one that's even more toxic is The Biggest Loser. As someone who's been through a journey, what did you used to watch them?
Loser was absolutely toxic.
Yeah.
I don't know if anyone knows anything about this, but I think that I didn't do like a whole video on it, but I'm sure that I mentioned this in one of my videos that I did. If you're ever interested in hearing about metabolism, you can Google like the Biggest Loser study, and they talk about like how these participants basically wrecked their metabolism because all they did was very low calorie and exercise all day long. That's all they did. They were locked away in some place, isolated from family. I can't even imagine like what was going on like with their mental health because they didn't have any family, they didn't have any friends. It was like backstabbing with people in the environment they were in and sabotaging, trying to make people eat cookies before the weigh-in.
I remember that.
Trainer like screaming in your face like you need to puke. No, you do not need to puke. Don't do that, please, y'all. So I mean, it was absolutely toxic. Did I want to go on The Biggest Loser? I did because once again, you are vulnerable and you are desperate and you've done everything. You want to do whatever it is that you want to do to try to reach the goals that you like have in your head. Of course, you don't have to go to those extremes. Now, I know that you said, I believe I saw the other show before, the one that they give them a year to do. And I want to say that they're not locked away. They're at their home, right? So they can do their own choices and make their own decisions about what they want to eat and when they want to exercise and stuff like that.
Yes.
So it's kind of like a double-edged sword to me. I know a lot of people feel a certain way about reality television and people being on there and, you know, whether they're being taken advantage of or, you know, executives, you know, TV stations profiting off people's pain and everything. I don't know because I can't say, I don't know I do know that, you know, television producers do skew and do clips and things like that to make things look a certain way.
Totally.
It may not necessarily be what that person exactly signed up for, but they do have resources that they may not have had before. They have a personal, they have nutrition guidance, registered dietitian and things like that. So it's a double-edged sword, you know, and people make the same comments about like my 600-pound life as well. Like they're basically taking advantage of these people and stuff. I guess a double-edged sword because they do pay for
For the
their weight loss.
surgery. Yeah.
They do pay for it. I want to say they pay for like their counseling and stuff, but I'm not sure about that though. Because a lot of those people have serious traumatic situations that led to them gaining that amount of weight. Same with me.
Yeah.
If you're interested, you can go look on my channel and see.
Okay.
My videos and talking about that. But if they don't address those issues, they're just gonna gain the weight back. And I can say that from my own personal experience. So
I've watched so many episodes of My 600-Pound Life, and you can almost I'm not gonna lie, that's like that's one of my comfort shows, and that's probably shows something about me, like, okay, it's probably not healthy. And I love like documentaries style anything, like True Life on MTV. I watched it all. Like anytime it's like an intervention, I've watched like every episode. But it's like a pattern on that show. It's like as soon as they force them to go to therapy, all of a sudden the process becomes a lot simpler, and they all don't want to go. Most of them on the show are like, I don't want to go to therapy. I don't need it. I just need the diet plan and I'll be good. It's almost impossible to stick to it. I mean, you got to think about how drastic a change that is. Plus you've had a major surgery and all that. But as soon as the therapist starts asking them like one question, this whole story comes out. You're like, you were keeping that, thinking that was not important in your life. Like that whole, like they talk about their childhood and about all this. It's like, oh my God, of course, like it makes so much sense. And I just always, every time I see one of those shows, I'm like, I hope there's a big mental health component, or they should force it. I guess I can't force someone to do it, but they should have them there.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know this though, and I just know this from like doing all my information and research and thing about different methods of losing weight and stuff, because of course I watch a lot of YouTube. But a lot of people that do get weight loss surgery, their insurance will not approve them until they see a counselor, until they have nutrition classes and things like that. They have to do a lot of stuff for their insurance to cover it. It's not like, hey doc, just cut me open. It's like, I have to be really, really ready for this, because a lot of people use food as a comfort for whatever issues that they have.
Sure. It's almost like the other side of like an ED. Well, I guess it's still an ED. To binge eating could be one. But like it's the same way, just the opposite. Like instead of withholding or counting and, it's like overindulging. But I think, those as well come from usually, in most, I would say a lot of cases, I would imagine, are from an emotional issue that has happened. It's not so much like you can't tell someone who's like thin or going through an ED and go, eat a cheeseburger. Like that'll help. It's not about that. It's about the reason they're doing it, And I can't believe that that's still not understood in 2022, like widely. That people think like
it'll never be understood, because people do not have empathy, right?
Yeah.
They tell thin people to eat a cheeseburger, and they tell a larger person to don't eat a cheeseburger.
Yeah.
And it's really not that simple, because if that was the case, then there would be no one on either one of those extremes.
Yeah. And I find it interesting too. There's a whole, and this, I would love to hear your opinions about it, even on your channel about, people who are thin or normal or whatever, having such a strong opinion about like bigger mannequins. Like that seems to be such a touchy subject for people who aren't overweight and have never been overweight. They like cannot stand that there would be an overweight representation, like in modeling or in acting or in any other capacity. It's like, why do you think that is? Like, why do people care so much about what other people weigh?
Damn, I don't know. Because I just found it so weird how they were saying that having like Tess Holiday on the front of magazine cover is glorifying obesity. Like, I don't understand it, because people come in different shapes and they come in different sizes. So like, I don't care how many health initiatives you have in the world. There are always going to be overweight people. There are always going to be really fit people. Like, it's not going away, you know? So having representation just makes a lot of people feel more comfortable. Like, oh, this is somewhere I can shop, or this is somewhere, you know, that I can go hang out, or even, you know, you see it all the time, like in medical practices, like, oh, this is a doctor that I can feel comfortable with, you know, because honestly, and I'm gonna say, like, even from my own experience, you know, that I've dealt with it, because it happens, you know, doctors want to say that all of your medical issues are due to you being overweight, like,
No matter what it is.
and they're not. They're not. Like,
Yeah.
of course, because I have a medical condition in my back, and I never was diagnosed for years and years and years. Like, it got worse after I had my child, and I bounced around through a couple of doctors, and I finally found a lovely Black nurse at Northwestern to take me serious, and she was like, "Oh gosh, you're too young to be doing that." Like, she immediately, like, put in for me to get x-rays, and what the x-rays come back, we'll do a CT scan, we'll do all this, like, we'll see what's, you know, at the bottom of this. And there you have it. I have a degenerative disease in my back, not caused because of excess weight. Well, there you have it.
Well, that's why it's so important to have that representation in across every industry, because, you know, seeing someone like you, but even better, talking to someone like you, or someone who can at least have empathy or understand like someone else's perspective and go, yeah, you're too young, or no, that doesn't make sense. That makes all the difference in the world. If you just have one perspective, always saying whatever their belief is, you're never gonna get anything. So that's why it matters.
Everything that doctors told me to do. I'm living a healthier lifestyle. I've lost weight. I did 2 rounds of physical therapy. Like, when am I going to get some relief? You know?
Yeah.
And I don't want drugs. Like, I'm not here to try to get controlled substances. That is not why I'm here, you know?
Yeah, that's scary. And back issues, especially. It's like a lot of people, and because I watch Intervention a lot, they all start with like back injuries, you know, at work, and then they get prescribed opioids, and then because of I don't know how much you know about like the industry. I've watched a lot of documentaries about that, about like the Sachs family trying, you know, them controlling opioids, like the whole country's supply essentially, and then having these sales guys go out and push it so heavily into all these, you know, practitioners. And, you know, then all of a sudden now they're harder to get. And now, okay, you're addicted to the point where you get sick if you don't have a opioid every day. Now you're like, well, okay, heroin can do the same thing. And it's like, it's more common, I think, than most people talk about.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's I mean, of course, if you're in pain, like however you want to feel better, I'm okay with. But if you can avoid opioids, like, I think that's probably a good thing to do, personally. But anyways, little Tarot's over here just relaxing. You can't see her from this angle, but she's with us on the channel. Is there anything else that you are thinking about, interested in, want people to know about, or you want to ask anyone or myself? Actually, hold on, before you answer that, I have to say thank you to somebody. I want to say thank you to Scout. I know this came in a long time ago. I really appreciate your comment. Scout says, some of us do like it when you guys talk about socioeconomic issues. It can't be disagregated. I don't know what that word is, but from MLMs, hustle culture, and vampiric self-help gurus. Yeah, I definitely think they all mix together, and it is important to point out. And I try to always talk about like the lower income family or the lower income person when it comes to self-help, because that I'm not necessarily there any longer. And I've told people this too, like the only reason I even can have a YouTube channel is because I moved in with my boyfriend at the time's and now my fiance's like we moved in together, and he's got a job where he gets a paycheck every 2 weeks. So I'm able to take the risk now for the first time in my life because I don't have to pay rent necessarily. If I couldn't, and I've been able to, but if I wasn't, I'm not going to be, dealing with an eviction. But if I didn't have him, there's no way that I would be able to even try to do this at all, part-time or full-time. So it's important because, like you can look at someone like both of us and go, oh, well, they have a channel, I can have a channel. But if you're not in that situation, I mean, that is the difference between doing it and not for a lot of people is, do you have support financially?
With all the things that come with it. It's not just like turning on your camera and bam, a lot of the things that you're talking about, like you have to like kind of do a little bit of research to kind of know what you're talking about, and editing and oh goodness. It definitely is a time suck. I'll put it like that.
Yeah, and you have a child too, which is like, even more kudos to you for trying this and putting content out there because it is time consuming for sure. And as much as you try to cut back on, like you get better and faster at editing, it still takes hours no matter what. No matter what you do, it's going to take multiple hours probably to put out a video. And that is a commitment that you're making. So that's awesome that you're deciding to do that.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And it's helping people. And people really like it. I've seen the comments. I go through, not all of them, but I tend to look at comments and see what people are saying. And, I see that you respond to a lot of them too. So I think that's a great strategy, if not even just like connecting with your, people who are supporting you or even giving you negative comments. Like I think it's good to respond if they're not ridiculous and talk because that's what you're there for. People are interacting.
I'm sure, if you have like 1,000 comments, you can't do all that. But I don't have that many comments, so I have the time right now.
Sometimes
it would be awesome one day that it became so overwhelming that I didn't have the time to do it. But right now I have the time, so
take advantage. Like it. It's sort of like on the way to the first 1,000 subs feels like a long time. It can. For me, I think it took like 3 or 4 months, which I would say is a shorter journey than some people take. And I think, and I'll say too, the reason I think I went faster is because I went to college for broadcast. So I have some on-camera experience already off the bat. I have video equipment because I have a video production business. So I had almost all of the stuff already. And, I had a Reddit at the time, sort of a Reddit presence. So I already had started building community before I posted my first video. And that can make all the difference. If you have that already, you can grow a little faster, but people don't necessarily admit to that or talk about it. And they go, okay, step 1, just do it. It's like, okay, there takes a lot of effort to just do it.
Right. And I'm definitely going to say, like, without you, I would have never gotten the boost on my channel that I did. I mean, I'm just going to be honest about it. Like, it's no reason to, like, lie and hide. Like, I was the reason of my success. No.
It was me, actually.
It didn't happen like that. Yeah. And I think a lot of people realize that, like, it can be a very long process. And I think it gives you the opportunity to build your community and interact with people and kind of build those, types of relationships or whatever. Like, you're seeing the same people and you're like, oh my God,
Yeah.
And also it kind of helps you out as a creator as well, because I have, watched things on YouTube and stuff like that. Like, people that grow really, really fast, they have problems. Like, they have so many problems. Like,
sometimes slow growth, and that's not even sometimes, I think all the time, slow growth is probably the healthiest and the best way to go if you have a choice. Because, I mean, of course, if something takes off, like ride the wave as much as you can. Don't like jump off because you are afraid of success. But growing slowly, you get to make some mistakes and you get to figure out what your voice is, and you get to change before people are really critical of you and going, you're different than you were before, So you get to take a little chance and go, I'm going to try something else, or I'm going to try this, or I'm going to do this. Because if you don't, then you're going to be stuck in the one thing that you became famous for, and maybe that's not what you want to be doing forever. Yeah. So I think, I think it's taking a risk putting the other screen on, but I would love to show your channel so that everyone knows exactly which one is yours.
Thank
you. So let's get off of the Oprah video. I will say, if you want to grow faster too, do another Rachel Hollis video, and there's an audience for her. Anything about her.
I definitely see it, and that's one thing that I was definitely thinking about. I was thinking about because I don't know if you guys have been on my channel, but I read Jeanette McCurdy's book, which I don't know if you guys have, but definitely check that out. It was amazing. It was great. So I'm thinking about putting myself through more torture. All Rachel Hollis's books and talking about them. I think
you should.
Like to do
that. You should.
Because one thing that I did a lot of when I was a little girl was a read. Like, I don't have much time for pleasure reading these days because I have so much stuff going on. But yeah, and I wouldn't necessarily say reading Rachel Hollis's book is pleasure reading, but
it's, I will say she's got a voice that's interesting. She's not dry. Like some self-help is so dry and boring. It's like, oh my God. Like she does have a lively tone. Now what she actually says, problematic. A lot of what she says, but the delivery, pretty good. So it's not a horrible read. I think her first self-help book, Girl Wash Your Face, is her best. It gets worse from there in enjoyability. The two following, but they're all worth a read, I think. So I'll watch your review. So okay, hold on, I'm getting it up. I reread. Well, I read for the first time her last book that came out 2021. And I reread the first two that I read before, and it really did help me remember things, because the first time I was just reading it as like as a fan, essentially, or like as someone who wants. Okay, so here's Kendra's YouTube account, a YouTube page, YouTube channel. She's got 754 subscribers. So if everyone that's here that's not a subscriber subscribes, Kendra will be making money in no time flat. Because that's the threshold. It's 1,000 subs and I think 4,000 watch hours. But you're probably getting that up there now, I would imagine. So
I am over halfway.
There you go. Nice.
When people actually watch the entire video.
Yep. Now the key is, if you want to, again, growth hack here, just do 10-hour streams and force people to watch it, and you'll just to the top. It is true though. The longer videos, I will say, it's easy if people like it. Like long videos are good right now. They might change it, but for right now, long videos are good.
So I think my Rachel Hollis video was nearly 40 minutes, and that's the most popular video on my channel. So that one definitely got me a lot of watch time.
Nice. That seems to be like a sweet spot. Like 40 minutes is like 20 to 40 minutes. It tends to be like, or I see a lot of things hit like million views. So, and I think it's because I think at 10 minutes is the first ad. And then if you have 20, then it's like 2 ads. And if you have 40, that's 4 ads. So that helps YouTube. So they're going to push you more. But as long as people are watching it, that's the key. Someone says, get a black cat too.
Unfortunately, I am allergic.
Oh no, Taro, don't listen.
I am allergic to dogs and cats actually, because my parents have dogs. So when I have to be heavily medicated on allergy medication.
That sucks. I would be so heartbroken if I was allergic to animals.
And it's so weird because your body is weird, man. Because when I was growing up, we had dogs, and I never had any problems. It was just like when I got older, I just had all these weird things just happening to my body. So
Weird. I know allergies are so weird. Like I knew a woman, one of my mom's friends from high school, and when she was like 46, she had shellfish like one night and then could never have it again. She had like an allergic reaction, but she had it her whole life. And then at like 46, just like went to the hospital over it. It's weird.
I'm not blaming it on the state of Florida, but when I moved to Florida, it's like my allergies just went wild.
I didn't know you lived in Florida.
I lived in Jacksonville for a couple of years.
Okay.
But I'm in Chicago now. So.
Nice. Yeah. Woo. I've been to Chicago one time and it was fun, but I went in May, so it was warmish.
Yeah, I was gonna say it was getting warm. It was getting warm. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's only warm for like 3 months out of the year.
Yeah. Yeah, I was gonna say I'm not going back in the winter time. Never. Only summer.
But I am so used to the weather because I'm originally from Louisiana and we don't really have a real winter. So it's quite the change for me.
Yeah. Yeah. I lived in Canada for a little bit in my childhood. I know, but I was a kid, so it was fun. You know, when you're younger, snow is cool. It's like, oh, snowman, you know. But as an adult, I've only lived in the warm, so I'm afraid to ever go.
It's not like I'm gonna sit down on ice and like break my back, you know.
Yeah.
You think stuff like that is like fun when you're a kid, like, oh, slip on the ice.
Yeah, I skate outside with my little sticks on my shoe. Yeah, when you have to go to work and you have to like crack ice on your windshield, like you're no longer happy.
That was my worst fear because when I was pregnant during the winter time, and it was my worst fear of falling, like slipping down. So
yeah, dang. Well, come back to Florida. We don't have snow here.
I lived in Miami. When was that? That was back in August. I did a vlog, so if you want to check that out.
Oh, nice.
I hadn't been to Miami in like a couple of years, like a while, but yeah.
I love Miami. I'm from that area-ish. I'm from Broward, so I was like Fort Lauderdale area. And Miami was like the big, you know, oh, we're going to Miami, like in high school. We're going to go 35, 40-minute drive and like go to the club or whatever. The all ages club, you know, very exciting. But I love Miami. Like I always think like one day I'll live there again, like or live in like the city part because it's a very cool city. It's beautiful. It's like very diverse. It's like, you know, if you like Spanish food or like Cuban food and that type of like cuisine, oh, you got like so many good choices.
I love the diversity. Like I love it. Like even living here in Chicago, like it's so diverse. Like
yeah, I do like that. I know it bothers some people. Like I don't want to read a sign or an advertisement in Spanish. I think it's so cool. I'm like, oh, okay, now it all makes sense. Like it helps me learn the words, so I like it. And in Canada, everything's in French too.
I'm like, if that's the case, then you don't ever want to travel out of the country. Like, come on, y'all.
Oh my God. My mom, okay, I never already talked enough shit about my mom today, but my mom is sort of like that, where she, you know, she'll say like, oh, I like traveling, but then, you know, we'll go to, back years ago, we'd go to like Mexico. She lived in Mexico too as well, but we'd go to Mexico and she'd be like, oh, they need an English menu. Oh, they need an English, the cab driver. I'm like, we're in their country. What are you talking about? She would get so upset. I'm like, come on. You can pull this back in the United States. You cannot pull this in Mexico. But she would be like, oh no, but I just need to be catered to. I'm like, oh my God. Okay. So, yeah. Good times. Okay, let's see. I'm going to refresh the page and see if anyone followed. Yay! Okay, went up. Started at 761. Look at that. Real-time results.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, everybody. Okay, we've been on for 2.5 hours. That's not too. That's pretty good.
Time flies when you're having fun.
Yeah. Did you enjoy yourself? I know there's like a technical meltdown halfway through, but other than that, well, I'd love to have you back on the show again sometime.
Anytime.
Awesome. Thank you. I'd love to talk to you about Heidi's boot camp and your opinions on that, and even some of the old school coaches like Jillian Michaels. And I think there's a lot to be said about the old school reality show fitness community, because from my perspective, like I've always been sort of the weight that I am now, which is like pretty average or like below average, I guess. I don't know. I'm like 5'5", like 145. Like I've been that my whole adult life. I don't really go up, I don't go down. So I don't have the perspective of like I need to lose a lot of weight, or my only perspective is like watching other people's 600-pound life episodes. So from someone who has gone through it, I think it is much more of an emotional story, I would think, or what you look for would be different than what I might point out. So I always like to hear from other people especially about weight stuff, because it's like such a sensitive topic, and I would never want to offend anybody.
Right.
I'm sure I do without meaning to, but I think sometimes talking to people who are more living in it or have, can make it a little bit more, I don't know, explain things better than I can.
Mm-hmm. Well, anytime I'm available. And if I'm not available, I'll become available.
Just like, husband, please.
Yes. And he'll be like, okay.
Oh, that's good. That's nice to have support, right? To have somebody that's watch the kids. Yeah, but us women, we just can't. We have to make the lunches, so we can't relate. We can't have channels, YouTube channels. Okay, so everyone, this is your directions from me on my laptop screen. And Taro, come on. Taro, tell them what to do. You gotta like Kendra's page on YouTube. She needs to get to 1,000 so that this becomes a profitable side business, and then you can do even more videos.
Even if it was never profitable, it didn't start out that way. It really just started out me sharing my experiences with the whole weight loss thing, and then I was like, oh, I can make videos talking about different issues in the weight loss and the health community, and I can give my opinion and people will listen. Oh, okay, that's cool. Yeah. And then it kind of evolved into the other things, and I got picked up by you.
It happens. Sometimes things like that happen. Like as long as you're making the content that you want to make, like the moment will come where, the views all of a sudden will hit, and you're like, what? Why? Right. Okay. And then
your people will find you eventually. Yes. It just takes a while depending on how YouTube's algorithm is working that day.
Yes. But if you like Reddit, if you end up playing with it more and find groups that you relate to, I think that's one of the best ways to just hear what people are talking about and to bye. Hi, Kendra. Well, I'll tell everyone else. She might come back in. Being on Reddit helps me know what everyone's talking about and wants to hear about. That's my other growth hack. It's not even for growth. It's just to be giving people information on things that are relevant. Because I don't know how many people were here from the beginning, but I started with medical frauds on TikTok. Well, alleged frauds, and people who are were in jail for it. But I got a lot of my tips and a lot of conversation that was happening on Reddit helped me put the videos together. So I don't know. I think it's the perfect accompanying app. That and TikTok. But I just love TikTok. Okay. I don't know if she's gonna come back. I think her computer might have died, perhaps, because it sounded like it was like a abrupt ending. But if she comes back, we'll let her in. But if she doesn't, thank you guys for coming. I promise I will figure out how to fix this issue with the lag, so you will not have to suffer through more lagging streaming, because I know how annoying that is, and I'm grateful that anyone stays at all given the lag situation. So if you're ready for sensual singing, everyone who's in the Pancake Breakfast Club, at least that joined before the stream started, I'm going to now sing your names in a very sexy way for everybody. So if you're ready for that, I'm ready to do it. And also, Sunday, if you are a part of Reddit, if you're part of the Reddit community, the Hollis Uncensored, I'm going to be doing an AMA, which is Ask Me Anything, for 2 hours. Well, about 2 hours, starting at 11 o'clock. And then I don't know if I'm going to do a live stream during that. Some people have requested that, and I think it might be a good idea, but I was going to see how my voice feels. But I'm going to keep it vague for now, and like there could be a stream on Sunday. But if not, there's definitely going to be me answering questions on the Hollis Uncensored Reddit thread. And also, and more, there's more free gifts. If you join as a member, there's 2 tiers. There's a Choose Sadness tier and a Pancake Breakfast Club tier. And if you join, now there's a private Reddit thread or private subreddit just for members. It's much smaller, and it's open to anyone who's a part of the membership. So if you get into the membership, which is on YouTube, you can give me your Reddit name. I'll add you to the group. And then we've just been talking about Hollis stuff, obviously, but also some MLM stuff, I think, and anything else that comes up. So if you're liking the medical fraud stuff, which I'm glad that people are liking that, because I would like to go back to that a little bit, catch up with Raw, and also call out some other people who annoy me from taking money, in my opinion, from nice people. Yeah, so that's also a perk and something to consider if you're thinking, oh, okay, wait, she's back. Hello? Are you there? We have the ghost of Kendra.
I am so sorry. Like,
you're
my
good.
laptop totally died. Like,
I figured that happened. That's what I thought. That's okay. I was just selling people on my community.
yeah.
Hard
But thank
selling.
you so much for having me on. It's been a wonderful, excellent, everything I could have dreamed of.
Oh, you're welcome.
Yes, I enjoy myself.
Good. Awesome. Well, thank you for making time and coming on and talking about your experience in Joilet. Am I saying it right?
Yeah,
Okay.
Joliet.
Okay.
I guess.
Okay. People were
I'm
like,
originally from the area, so maybe
we're
I'm
both
pronouncing it
wrong.
right. I don't-
I was deferring to you. I'm like, oh no, she said Joliet. Okay. So maybe we both. Yeah. And well, I'm glad you went, and I really appreciate your review, and then your follow-up review, and this conversation. So, yeah, I think as long as you're down, I would love to have you back soon.
Yeah,
So I think everyone enjoyed it too.
Yay.
All
It was so
right.
amazing.
Oh, thank you. Well, I like your opinion. I think you have a great, perspective, and I think, like you said, the positivity. I as much as I hate positivity, toxic positivity, I think it's important to have a little bit of positivity in your life, and it's nice to hear some encouragement.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And you have such an amazing audience,
Yes.
and I know that my subscribers are your subscribers too. Thank you. and they've been absolutely wonderful
That's awesome.
to
Yeah, I
me.
saw a lot of comments. I was like, oh, that's so cool. Like everyone, it's funny because we're all considered haters, This whole community is like a bunch of haters according to the people we talk about, which I understand where they're coming from. But for a bunch of haters, I think we have a lot of really positive, and good things to talk about. And I think everyone's super supportive and dedicated to helping other people see the truth of this. And I think it's really cool. So since they like you, you must be on to something good.
BS detectors. That's what you're. That's what they
Yes.
have. Good BS detectors.
Yes, exactly. Well, no pressure, but I'm going to start singing in my raspy voice the names of people who are in the membership. So
Okay.
feel free to stick around, but I don't want to, you've already been through enough torture, as you said, so put you through more. But it's up to you. But thank you again for coming.
You guys have the greatest of greatest weekends, and I will have a video out tomorrow. Supposed to be, it should be. So check out for that. It's gonna be health MLM. We're gonna talk about that.
Health MLMs, my favorite topic. Thank you. Okay, everyone watch. I'll watch too, and then I'll give you
You guys
feedback.
have a good. Thank you. You guys have a good weekend.
See ya.
Alrighty, take care.
Bye. Okay, here we
Bye-bye.
go, everybody. On the stream, I got a new song. Just for this moment, we got a new song. Okay, ready? We're getting a little sexy. We're getting a little freaky, maybe? I don't know. We're gonna find out. It's getting late. And we're not done with the stream yet. Kendra just signed off, and she's gonna go enjoy her weekend. Just like rain cannon. I guess this is gonna be a country R&B song. And young, they're on the top of the list because they got their lungs, unlike me. Angela Arnold. I wonder if your middle name's Amy. Brianna. Bryna. I don't know when I'll get it right, but your last name's Nicole, and that's really cool. And Alaska Blatundra, that's a tongue twister. Dahlia. Damn, girl or guy, you're Dahliaing my mind. That was bad. Starry nights, you're the star in my eye. Truly one of the best. Nicole Campbell, you like chicken soup for the soul. The perception trainer, she trains you, she wants you to have a better perception. Dave Kelly, what would we do without Dave Kelly? I don't know, and I don't want to find out. Soko Lashes, she is flashing her lights all over this town. And Joms, they've got the best mom. Clueless Monet, not to be confused with Monate. That's a hair product that could make it go bald. And Marley Hanno, give her a hand though, because she's on the list. Bonjour Nancy, je m'appelle Keya. Ça va? Ça va sexy. Stella Black, never step back. We appreciate you here. Just like Crystal G, who's near. Oh, The song's gonna go on. We're gonna start from the top. And we're never gonna stop. Hey. Welcome back. Hour 10 of this list. Crystal G just took our voice away because they got the best things to say. Just like Nicole Hensley. She's driving a Benz, B. Maybe. Oh, we don't know, but guess what? Laura Wallace. She's got that smile that would make me cry. But make me cry like a console. A console. You make me giggle. Just like Chels Marie. Life ain't free. You know, Chels Marie. It rhymes with Louise V. Yeah. So, that leads us to one last name. I don't want to say it, 'cause then I gotta go. Alright. If you say I have to, then I guess I will go for it. Kimberly Harris smiles. She smiles for a while, and it makes me laugh and cry and pee my pants. Why you gotta pee your pants so much? I guess that's just what women do, yeah. It's been fun, and it's been real. And I want to say one more thing. You guys, you're so dear to me. And the last thing I'll say is, clear, clear, clear. Now we're healed. It's been fun, guys. Hopefully, my voice will be back. Or it stays like this forever. And I'm just super sexy all the time. Hey, brother. Can I get by? There were bears on the mountain. Stop doing what you're doing, eating Skittles and watching Oprah reruns. They got better furniture than you. They got bigger buildings than you. Now that's just stupid. Someone should smack you. Hey, and now we're really at the end. It's time to go. Bye. Thanks, guys. We'll see you later.